Esteemed viewers, we welcome you today on this exclusive discussion on Budget 2024. We are very delighted to be joined by esteemed economist and former Vice Chairman of NITI Aayog, Mr. Rajiv Kumar. Welcome, sir. Thank you for joining us today.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
I will open the discussion because I happen to be reading your opinion today in the Financial Express, and wherein you say that the budget presented by Finance Minister Nirmala Raman reflect government's twin confidence of a well-performing economy and happy prospects of electoral victory in the upcoming elections. But the government has not made any tall claims, hasn't tried to woo any section or region. What, in your opinion, then gives this twin confidence?
Well, I mean, the first part of the confidence is very clear. With the economy growing at about 7%, plus 7%, and for the next year, all the agencies upgrading the forecast to near 7%, also. I think that augurs very well and seems that the economy has finally picked up the momentum in the post-pandemic periods. And also the sort of what are called the high frequency indicators also showing that all aspects of the economy are now doing better in the last 3 or 4 months than before. So the economy part is very clear. On the electoral part, I mean, I said simply that, and I've noticed that other observers have also concluded in the same way that the complete absence of any populist schemes or announcements in this budget and the courage to reduce the fiscal deficit rather than increase it shows that the government is quite confident of coming back into office and presenting the next budget itself. And also that shows that the finance minister wanted to leave, as it were, a very stable, clear position for her successor, which might be she herself, to make the budget, in July. So I think those are the reasons for which I said it displays the twin confidence.
Yeah, you've been talking about, like, that good economy can be, a good politics. So good economic policies do mean good politics as well. And considering the data wherein that says, liberation of 2.25 crore people, how in your, they have been like come out of the sort of poverty and direct benefit transfers benefiting, leakages being fixed. And how do you say that this direct benefit transfers have played a crucial role in shaping the economic landscape? How far does it go? How far do people feel that this has benefited them on ground?
I mean, the first thing I want to say, Jaya, is that having worked with the Prime Minister, I've always noticed, I had noticed that he had this firm belief that if you do your work right, and if you got your, if you did your projects right, your performance well, and you did what you were supposed to do, the votes will come. I mean, and therefore don't, I mean, he has said this many times that as long as we are doing the right thing and we are delivering to the people, what they expect from us in the manner which is straightforward, honest, and transparent, then the people will respond to that. So that's what's good economics making good politics. Now on the DBT itself, the fact that nearly what's it, about 400 schemes have been transferred to the direct benefit transfers, and 2.7 lakh crore has been saved in terms of which were leakages otherwise. That has meant that the benefits of growth have not just remained up in the upper echelons of the economy or society, but have also gone down to the people in the bottom of the pyramid, and those who and those who are more vulnerable. So that's and that they then respond to these improved delivery of public services. But more importantly, it improves the condition of the weakest, so that their purchasing power improves, their life, the welfare levels improve, and they become a part of the economy and benefit from the growth that's taking place. So it makes the economic growth more inclusive, and which is why the DBT is more important.
So, having said that, our economic policies have been inclusive. It's, and even you mentioned about the PM that is more, more specifically focused on doing his work right, and then he shows that if the intended benefit or intended impact is reaching to the person intended, definitely the people are going to choose him or the right person again. Votes is not his intention, but doing the right work is his. And you're talking about reaching the program to the last person. And you know so inclusivity in the sectoral social programs, we're talking about farmers here, 11.8 crore farmers, 70 lakh street vendors and artisans across 18 sectors. And how do you feel that analysis, and you've been talking about that, there's a systematic continuity of the schemes and program that government has focused on, like even the speech that finance minister gave yesterday, and she's been talking about the continuity of program, and people have been a little critical that there was nothing new, so a lot of, so it's a divided opinion when they're saying there's nothing new, you bought nothing, new programs, no new schemes. And some people are very appreciative of the fact that there's a continuity, there's a sustainability and transparency, that government is having a sustained focus on certain indicators and parameters. What opinion do you hold here?
No, I mean, I've said it in the article myself that you see, rather than keep announcing a plethora of new schemes and then spreading your efforts and your resources very thinly, and very widely, it's better, to focus on some schemes which are important, which are critical, which the people feel really do benefit them. For example, the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, or the Har Ghar Mein Nal, or the Prime Minister's Kisan Saman Nidhi. These are things which have benefited the people directly, and their benefits have been recognized by the people. And therefore it's better to complete them. And 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 as I think, as the Prime Minister himself said, that it is better to reach them to their saturation points. Which is that every area that you're working, they make sure that all the eligible beneficiaries get advantage of these schemes, rather than just a few and then carrying on further. So I think uh, that's because we know that these schemes have a direct impact in improving the life and the welfare levels of the people. Let's deliver them efficiently and in a manner that that they reach saturation. And I think therefore it's commendable, rather than keep offering new projects and new schemes, and not even allocating enough resources to them. That had been the past situation, that there are hundreds of schemes. If you look at the budget speeches of earlier years, you will find so many schemes which have been mentioned, but which have never received even the budget allocation, appropriate budget allocation. So that's a waste. And I think this is why this is far more effective and efficient way of doing things, and especially of delivering public services.
So, talking about the budget allocation in terms of schemes that you're picking up, and government now focusing more on housing. Yes, we do see that we've come from a time where sanitation was a long shot, especially talking about the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan and making sanitation and toilets actually available, especially to the rural and the women folk. And now we are, do you see this as advancing on the same the standards of living, the dignity of basic means of dignity? Do you see that government is actually scaling up its efforts now from sanitation to even housing? And what do you think about the budget allocation in this measure?
Yeah, I think that you're right there, and I must confess that when I had met the Prime Minister right after 2014, and I was not in the government. And he's met the economists, and we were talking about various priorities, etc. And he said, "Look, my priority is to have Swachh Bharat and and create toilets." And we were all kind of very surprised and taken aback, but that was the grim reality, which is that at the lowest levels, of that level, they were the basic requirement, they were the critical requirement for, for improving, for ensuring the health and dignity, etc., of the people, especially of the women folk. Now, having achieved that, with 100%, open defecation free, achieved across districts in India. The next step is safe water and then a, good roof over your head. I mean, these are the basic necessities you can think of. So therefore, you go in that direction, and then after that, of course, along with it will come, for example, tackling malnutrition or improving the basic quality of the basic education, etc. So I think, that's the sort of, that's the sort of measured approach, which the prime minister has taken in meeting in full the basic necessities of the people, and making sure that the government resources are allocated to those and not just frittered away in, some, fancy schemes, etc. So I think that's the idea, of moving, as it were, of moving up the ladder from the most basic to the other necessities that improve the quality of life and afford people a better living standard as we go along.
If we look at the hindsight of it, so these are the four sections of the society which PM Modi says that these are the caste I focus on, be it women, youth, poor, or farmers. So we have a lot of spoken about the budget is taking into consideration, yes, MSMEs are getting their due, and new formulations of methods, so the functioning is better, more access to resources, more access to funds is there. But what do you think, after beyond these four, is what does this budget brings in terms of the corporates, bring in terms for the business sector, talking about the strategic vision in the infrastructure also. So what comments would you have that the initiatives that strategically contribute to economic growth, and what economic vision do you see in these, like when they're talking about the rail corridors or other things in terms of the business or the corporate sector?
Well, the most important thing is, of course, ramping up of the capital expenditure, the public capital expenditure, which is now today at a record level of 11.11 lakh crores, has never been done before. And now, even in terms of the GDP, it's at, it's about 3.5, 3.6% of GDP. Now, that's a record. And that's being done. All that money is being allocated to improve the physical infrastructure, which benefits not just the poor, but also benefits the corporates, because it brings down the logistics cost, of the corporates, which are quite high in India compared to the others. So that would make these corporations, globally competitive. So that's one part of it. The second part, of course, and a part of it also are not just the highways and the railways, but also the airports, which are coming up in tier 2 towns, and and all across the country. There are already 143 being done, and then others coming along in all parts of the country. That improves connectivity. This also includes the expansion of the digital public, the public, the digital public, infrastructure and connectivity, through the UPI and the greater, coverage of the internet, and and that kind of thing. But I mean, along with that, I was quite impressed with the announcement of the 1 lakh crore corpus for funding of R&D in sunrise sectors by the young entrepreneurs, with 50-year long-term interest-free loans. I think that's a real, push up to the corporate sector, and to making the Indian industry, more technologically savvy and take advantage of the new technology. So that's that. Uh, on the other side, the corporate sectors, you talked about the railway corridors already, and you've mentioned about, and there is enough allocation also for urban development, which will also benefit the corporate. So there's a large allocation for directly directly improving the ecosystem in which the Indian corporates are operating. So the budget is not only about distribution and taking care of those at the bottom of the pyramid, but the budget is also about promoting growth and entrepreneurship, and promoting growth, entrepreneurship, technology, and and I forgot to mention that the allocation for the production linked incentive scheme, the PLIS, has been more than doubled. 23 24 it was about 3,400 crores, and now for the next year the allocation is about 6,600 crores. Now that particular scheme is all about expanding manufacturing capacities in the country in the context of Atmanirbharta and reducing our dependency on imports on critical sectors. Now, all of this is directly, targeted at improving the corporate profitability and also the ecosystem in which the Indian corporates operate.
And so you've spoken about the infrastructure and the ecosystem that's actually going to boost and support the business, the business sector, the corporate sector. And we're talking about, when we talk about ecosystem, when we talk about the resources, and we really had a good scope created for the green economy strategy, where incentivizing the solar energy adoption and providing viability gap funding or offshore wind energy. Could you provide insight into the government's economic strategy to encourage the use of this renewable energy, including coal, classification and promotion of the green economy? How do you look at it? Because you've been into the government's policy development into it. It's been long now. They're coming wide open with a lot of effort and planning and strategy. How would you explain it for the common understanding?
You know, the I've said this often enough, but India is the probably the only country in the world history which has to make its people richer and to increase its per capita incomes, and at the same time reduce its carbon footprint, take care of the environment. And I think this has been the government has taken up this challenge. Most of the governments don't take up this challenge, and they say that okay, we'll take care of the environment after we have achieved our growth targets. But we can't afford to do that, because if we do that, we will suffer, of course, but also along with us, the planet will suffer. There is no that space is not available to us, and which is why the Prime Minister has really focused very sharply on what we call the green energy transition. From the transition from generating and acquiring our energy through fossil fuels, from away from that to renewable sources, and non carbon emitting sources. Now, here in this budget, there is for example, announcement. I don't know about the numbers about promoting coal gasification. We have this huge, vast reserves of coal, which we can't use now in thermal power generation. But if we gasify them within the ground and then create the gas, which then runs the turbines, that's environmentally friendly. At the same time, solarization, the 1 crore households having solar rooftops, pretty much free, up to generating up to 300 units of electricity. I think that will help reduce the household consumption of fossil fuel and energy. So that's the other one that we've got there. Then you've got the
And they're
promotion
also
of
earning from any
electric.
surplus that they create. They earn out of it. It's like,
You can also return if they supply it to the grid. You can get some money out of that. But and then there is the promotion of the electric vehicles, especially the public utility electric vehicles, which again will reduce the emissions and consumption of diesel and oil. So that's the other one. Uh, the Prime Minister's target of having 450 gigawatts of renewable energy in our system, and up to 30% of the total energy, I think it's a very ambitious one. But then the government is set to achieve it, and I can see that this budget also plays around in the same direction, and this green transition, the green energy transition. And the other way, the government's promotion of the hydrogen economy, which is a critical one, and we have to succeed there, and that will make a big breakthrough. All of these put together make for a very strong strategy for green energy transition in the country in the years to come.
So talking about finally, where because Prime Minister and the government, and obviously he's been leading it, that Nari Shakti has to be, you know not only, he's the one who's not even talking as women as a receiver of any benefit. He's the one who's spoken women as a stakeholder, that they're gone are the days where you look at the women, they are weak, and we empower them. And then, but he's been talking that women are the driving forces, and they empower the country if they are made to lead. And even in this budget, he's created, the government has created a lot of scope where we talk about benefiting over 9 crore women, extending healthcare in the hinterlands, and we're talking about the Lakpati Didi. And a lot of focus has been given not only making women as we've been talking about those SAGs, who have been instrumental, they've been used as an agency, like in your words, to to create Lakpati Didi. So it's been using the instrumentality of women not only to empower or enable them to play a better role, but leading country from the front. So how do you look at this budget contributing, or to that particular wider vision, or that's what has the government been communicating?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is what you said right up front, which is that it's nobody's business to empower the women. I mean, who are we to empower the women? The women are empowered, or we have to enable the women to empower themselves. And when that happens, they empower the society, they empower the economy, they add huge amounts of valuable value added to the economy. So therefore, women are their own instruments, as it were. They are their own instruments of empowering themselves, and along with that, the economy. And I think that best example of that are these 83 lakh self-help groups, which are which have 9 crore women members, and I've actually worked with them. And they are amazing, they are dynamic, because they are there. For example, they borrow loans from the microfinance institutions, and their NPAs are close to zero. I mean, all of them return that. And these self-help group women, by the way, are not just creating Lakpati Didis, of which they have created a crore already, but they're also helping in my big passion, which is to spread the word about natural farming, the zero chemical farming in the country, because that's again a very big thing that the government is supporting, and the Prime Minister himself promotes, because without zero chemical farming, we will lose out on our environment, health, soil health, etc., etc. So so the women are in sometimes actually the much more dynamic agents of economic change and social change. And actually, my hope is that as we go forward, the target of 3 crore Lakpati Didis, or or the target of creating, improving the women participation rate in the labor force, which is already up to 37%, according to the public, the PLFS, Periodic Labor Force Survey. It goes up even further, because I think, getting women, in leading positions, getting women to be their own masters. But more importantly, at the moment, by the way, I have to bring up this issue, which is that a very large segment of our women are undernourished, and that's the National Family Health Survey. And I think we need to pay attention to that as well, along as we go along. So I think, Nari Shakti is one of the pillars of the Gyan that you talked about, the Garib, the Yuva, Anandata, and the Nari. And I think, it'll be incredible, and which is why the Prime Minister led the way of even the G20 adopting Nari Shakti is one of the key points going forward. So, this is something which is, which is path breaking. And I think, this budget supports that. And I'm sure that in the coming budget as well, women will receive, a significant attention, both in enabling them, improving their skills, and breaking the glass ceilings which they sometimes find in the corporate world or in the business world. And I hope that'll happen.
We all are hopeful of that, and with that we conclude, and thank you so much for the brilliant and insightful discussion. It was very enriching. We are very delighted to have shared this time with you. Thank you so much.